My journey into wine has been, it wasn't my first career, so it's something that I took up in 2013. My background is that I was a software architect, so developing software and integration software in Silicon Valley and then in New York and London. So had a long career building systems for large corporates and integrated systems, usually moving legacy data onto the web or making it accessible through the web. I then moved to finance and had a career in environmental finance, and then in 2013 started Asset Wines. Initially, I looked at creating a business to be a wine fund. So running a wine fund or managing a wine fund, but concluded after some research that in the end it was not a good business model. And so instead started a wine merchant to buy and sell the wines I was interested in, which I'd been collecting for a couple decades, I guess, so more on the fine wine side of things. And so we are a fine wine merchant that imports and distributes wines from France and Italy almost exclusively. We focus on wines from Burgundy and Piemonte, but also do Bordeaux, Champagne, Tuscany, and other fine wines from those two countries. Tiny bit, maybe 1% other countries. And we sell directly to private clients. So it's a growing list of clients that we work with. But we also, since we import wines directly from the producers, we have allocations from producers in Piemonte and Burgundy and other places. And when we are the exclusive importer or a large importer, then we also distribute that to other fine wine merchants. We don't work with the on-trade. We don't sell to restaurants and wine shops. We do a little bit to wine bars. But it's mostly other merchants, so other users of the hub potentially that are buying wine from us and then selling it to their private clients. So we were always planning to sell to private individuals, and that's been a growing part of our business since the beginning. Working with trade has been a bit of trial and error. So initially we were also planning to sell to the on-trade or to restaurants, and we've decided for different reasons not to really focus on those markets. However, doing wholesale trade with other merchants has been something that we have grown over the years, and plan to continue doing that, and that's also a growing part of the business. Any wine business which is buying and selling fine wines with private clients has to do brokerage because clients do want to sell their wine for any number of reasons, either because they don't want that wine anymore or need the money or have decided that they would rather resell some of their wines. So brokerage is a service that you have to provide to your private clients. If not, they'll go somewhere else. But why make it painful for them when you have the better knowledge of their wine, and oftentimes you're storing the wine for them. So brokerage is kind of a key service that you have to provide, and it is a time-consuming service because you need to check the wine, make sure it's not just a list, but actual wine in the format that they think it is. And then you need to be able to price it and be able to sell it on the market at the right price, which is a constantly evolving value. So doing that in an efficient way is actually important because Doing it manually is very time consuming when you've got large lists. One wine is easy to do, 100 wines can be very time consuming. When we were looking for new technology, we were looking at more basic aspects of inventory management and transferring the data from buying and selling into a accounting platform. The more complex workflows, which are enabled by the hub now, wasn't our main driver, but it's definitely something that needs to be supported by your software package, because if not, you're going to have the complex workflows that you're going to end up doing manually, which are going to end up taking a lot of time. So I think it's important, if you are now looking for a new software package, that you should also look at these other non-standard workflows or less common workflows and make sure that they're supported. But I think the hub, since it's getting feedback from 40 plus wine merchants with all have some kind of idiosyncrasies and certain workflows, almost everything is enabled these days. And if it isn't, then usually it becomes enabled relatively quickly. So I think anyone who's going to decide on using the hub is probably going to be able to find the solution of their workflows in the hub already. It'll be quite rare to find something that isn't yet enabled. I think one aspect that is maybe hidden from someone who wants to start a wine business who hasn't necessarily done it at scale, but's done it with his own collection or just a view on what he will be doing, is the complexity of stock management. And it's very easy to manage when it's small, but managing stock that is in multiple locations, and not just warehouses, but also duty paid in an office or in a duty paid cellar, and also at the domains or the producers or traders that you buy from that matter. So it can be in other providers' locations, and managing all those locations, all those different stock, where it is, when it's going to reach you, when you'll be able to deliver it, is a very complex thing to do. And trying to do that on your own without a piece of software that manages all those problems is almost impossible to do correctly if you don't have a dedicated piece of software. So you can do it in Excel on your own, and that works fine when it's small, but as soon as it gets large and you've got all these locations, and remember these wines are constantly moving in and out, and their values are changing, is very difficult. And I think most people forget that, or don't realize how complex it's going to be, and how time consuming it's going to be, and how error prone it can be, and how expensive errors are in managing this stock. And I think the hub that's probably the number one value of it, is that you can manage your stock. Everything else is almost a bonus. But just managing the stock is enough. Now, the hub does that very well because it's based on doing that, and all the other features are great and necessary to run a business. But I think if you forget that, then you're not able to run your business effectively. And I think that's where, if you're looking at a software package and you're thinking about the accounting issues or the presentation issues or the online selling issues, that's all great. But if you can't manage your stock, none of those systems work. So that's the first thing you need.